Welcome to Genius or Junk with me, your host, Jim Fowler, where we invite a guest to debate whether an item is doomed to oblivion or it belongs in the genius vault. Only the most deserving innovations will stand the test of time. But do you agree with their choices? In today's episode, a 2,500-year-old piece of technology that paved the way for computing and a mode of transport that is only a third of what it's advertised to be. Today's guest is Terence Goad, an engineer who's pivoted from Formula One design to agriculture. So Terence, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And so how did you get into agriculture?
Yes, good question. I've worked on 18 Formula One cars, a few hypercars, and we were approached by someone who wanted an autonomous electric tractor designed and made. They recognised that we had the skill set that was needed. The speeds are slightly different, but it was still a one-off prototype, had to work first time, needed innovative thinking, needed excellent engineering, same skill set. When we did that, by far the most difficult aspect of that project was making the wheels turn round. There was nothing available on the market that would make the wheels turn round for that sort of vehicle. It really surprised us.
And when you say wheels turn around, what do you mean? I mean, there's obviously lots of wheels, big ones, small ones, little ones. You know, it's. How do you mean the wheels it's hard to make the wheels turn round? How does that work?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to do an electric car, obviously that's been done to death. Electric bicycles, wheelchairs, golf buggies. I don't know much about golf. Have you ever seen a sort of mobility scooter or a golf buggy in a muddy field? No, it just doesn't work, does it? Doesn't work. So yeah, there's nothing on the market to make for that sort of vehicle. So we realised that there was a big gap in the market here. Obviously electrification of farm machinery, especially with autonomy, machine learning, etc., going on, precision agriculture. So we realised all this really clever, amazing technology that's going to revolutionise farming is going to be absolutely useless and just stuck in the lab unless you can make the wheels turn round in a muddy field.
And then that's Oxdrive.
That is where we created Oxdrive, yes, government funding to do the first prototypes. We're finding all sorts of uses for them now.
So Oxdrives are what? A hub?
Yes, they're the hub that make the wheel turn round. So it is a unit. You feed it the electricity, the power electricity, and you can feed it signal. Literally it's bolted onto one side of whatever platform, vehicle, tractor, call it what you want. You bolt the wheel on and it turns, and it's got, it doesn't need to be very high speed, but it does need to have phenomenal torque, which is sort of like the twisting force. And it needs to be very robust. It needs to tolerate jet washing, mud, being dropped into a lake, all of those things. And that's what an Oxdrive can do. And they're very simple to integrate as well. The sort of people that are creating these new agricultural systems, the last thing they want to be doing is working on figuring out how to make the wheels turn round, because they will be thinking exactly the same that we were thinking. This has been done before. Where do I buy one of these?
So Oxdrive is literally sort of reinventing the wheel.
Pretty much. So reinventing the way of driving it. And as far as we know, it's the only product of its type that's available.
Fantastic. So, but obviously you're here on Genius or Junk.
Indeed.
So Oxdrive obviously would be something you would make genius, but then we need to talk about other things. So you've got two interesting, fascinating devices, mechanical bits, engineering. So the first one though is, slightly kind of not what I'd expect from a Formula One engineer.
No, it's the loom, woven material.
The loom, a device for weaving fabric, dates back to ancient civilizations like Egypt and Mesopotamia. Over centuries, it evolved from simple hand looms to mechanised versions. In 1701, Joseph Jacquard's programmable loom revolutionised textile production, paving the way for automation. Today, modern looms use computer technology for high-speed weaving.
So why the loom?
People would be thinking, surely Terence is going to be thinking of some electronics kit or, the V12 engine or something. So it was quite transformational, I think, in that before the loom, woven material, we were either running around butt naked or wearing sort of dead animals, neither of which must have smelt nice or looked terribly good. If it weren't for woven material, I'd either be butt naked or wearing leather. And hurrah for the loom. I think we can all be agreed.
So I suppose we need to introduce what is a loom, I guess, kind of what does it do?
Well, it creates the material, so it takes thread and weaves it to create textiles for the clothes we're wearing.
And I remember we had a brief conversation before we started recording, and you mentioned to me that it's a great technology because you don't notice it or something.
Yes, yeah. For me, I think good engineering, good technology is one which has been so well done, so well executed, you don't notice it. You tend to notice engineering and technology when it goes wrong. We all know about printer drivers. We all know about operating systems, blue screen. That's when you notice technology. It's when you're swearing at it. When it's so good, you don't even notice it's there. That is a well executed piece of design.
And I suppose also we're still using it now. I suppose in a different guise, but I guess we've been using them, since Phoenician times, I believe, if I read correctly.
I'll take your word for it. Well, yeah, obviously we're wearing clothes, thank heavens. So obviously, yeah, looms are being still used.
And also, is it sort of part of the, the fact that we're still using it today? That, you also think of technology, it's always getting better and better and being refined, being replaced by the next thing. But I guess we haven't really done anything different from the original loom, particularly.
I think fundamentally, yeah, you have woven material, warp and weft. So you've got the threads running up and down. They are the warp, if I remember, and the ones that go from left to right are the weft. I remember the weft to right. For sure, if you look at an old loom, they are fairly clunky things. Round stones hanging off the drop backs of them to weight the weft. No, the warp.
It sounds like it's singing.
I'll try and get it right. One of the best F1 designers I know, actually, he started off his business in carpet making. It's just so doing looms. And they had he said they had needles like 3 meters long that were going from one side to the other. The technology is absolutely nuts. I think when you obviously everybody thinks Formula One is great technology, but there is fantastic technology in absolutely everything. In the most mundane thing. Look how cheaply you can buy clothes from. The machinery for making clothes is just making material is. Has been refined quite a bit.
Yeah. So, and also I believe there's another reason you've chosen the loom, which is not so apparent, that something to do with computers or something. How does it work?
Well, the Jacquard loom was programmable. So you use punch cards with holes punched in them to replicate the pattern. So you could feed that in, and then that would then be interpreted by the machine, and the holes would be triggering whatever mechanism there was to recreate the pattern. So it was, to an extent, programmable.
So, but not quite what we think of. But I suppose it's because the old computers were punch cards, wasn't it? You sort of seen if you've seen the Italian Job with Benny Hill, and he's kind of like trying to reprogram the Italian's computers. There's all these like punch cards and those reels and stuff with holes. But I think was it Charles Babbage?
I don't know how his machine works. I have seen it at the Science Museum, a recreation of it, an amazing bit of kit. Yeah, and in fact, bit of a Wikipedia, as I like to call it, certainly as my wife refers to it, is that, there are some terminology still in computing that still refers to cards. So I do part of the engineering. There's a field known as finite element analysis, FEA. Less we talk about that, the better. We don't want any listeners to doze off straight away. But it's one of the reasons that computers were developed in the first place. And we refer to things as an input deck, and it's the deck of cards that they were loaded into the computers, and you would have there would be the material card, and that is still terminology that is still used today. Yeah, and of course, woven material is not restricted to clothing. It's used very often in carbon fibre. A common weave is a 2x2 twill. Which
maybe we need to explain what is carbon. I mean, because obviously,
of course,
So what is carbon fibre?
So, it's a bit like glass fibre, a bit like wattle and daub, as it will. So you've got two materials which in themselves aren't terribly useful for building or whatever it is that you want to do with them. So carbon fibre is very thin strands of thread, if you will, and made of effectively pure carbon. It's typically made from, if you can imagine sort of having a synthetic fibre and then they bake it essentially so that all the bits that evaporate off and you're just left with the carbon behind it, and it can be incredibly strong. Marketing people love it because it's a high-tech material, but it is genuinely really, really useful. But of course, it's just a fibre. It's, you can't make a car out of it, for heaven's sake. But you can weave it into a material, and then you basically encase it in resin. To put it very simplistically, and the resin sort of holds it into the shape that you want it to be held in, and the fibres actually take the loads, and you end up with a very useful material that you can make, aircraft, racing cars out of.
So are we trying to say then that without the loom, we wouldn't have computing, and without the loom, you might not be able to make these exotic cars and exotic planes with exotic materials? I guess it's fundamental to,
You would be able to do it, but without the material, you're just left with the thread, so you'd have to be laying it down quite painstakingly.
And most importantly, which I can't shift my mind, is the fact that you would be naked without the loom.
I would.
Which is
or wearing leather.
Neither is a good look.
PVC, third option? No?
It's not getting any better, seriously. So moving on then. So that's your genius item.
Yeah.
So now the junk item.
Yes.
Now, this is going to be something that I feel could be a little bit controversial. How should we put this? Because a lot of people use them.
Yeah.
You see them every day.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, love them.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, you don't.
No.
Right. So could you introduce, what is your junk item that we're chucking on the junkyard of history?
The sports utility vehicle, the SUV.
The sport utility vehicle traces its roots to military vehicles like the World War II Jeep and Land Rover Series 1. The 1960s saw civilian models like the Range Rover and Jeep Cherokee. In the 1990s, SUVs exploded in popularity, blending off-road capability with family comfort. Today, they dominate global markets, with electric and hybrid models shaping the future.
I think everybody kind of knows, but, let's just spell it out to everybody. Your idea of the SUV would be a...
piece of shit on wheels.
Also known as, give us an example. What sort of model? What are we talking about? Obviously, I know everybody seems to be making SUVs now. We were talking the other day, what was it? We think Volvo have given up. All they do is SUVs.
Yeah. So, SUVs are sort of, cars, if you will, sort of roughy-tufty styling, aerodynamics of a brick. And people do appear to love them. And for an engineer who has a, vague understanding of the laws of physics and likes cars that go fast, it's just a completely diametrically opposite of what I think a car should be.
So surely, an SUV, it does what it says on the tin.
Well, I've got a sports car, Porsche 911, and that's a sports car, I would say. You don't look at a, big 2.5-ton hulk of vehicle and think, oh, that's sporty. Utility, my Porsche has got a boot at the front and the back. It's a hatchback. That's utility, very useful. And I can put a roof rack on the top, or as Porsche call it, a roof transport system, which is like a roof rack, but about 3 times the price.
Does it say Porsche, little letters on the side?
It does. It says Porsche quite big, actually.
Well, I want to for that price.
Yes, no, it's very good. It's very good. And so, obviously, the sports utility vehicle, I think they originally came from people that do big American outdoor sports or something. But, when you see sort of one driving around the A34 or in town, they're not doing anything adventurous, are they?
So, okay, so I mean, apart from the fact you just don't like them, surely there's got to be a reason. You're an engineer. You have to surely, even your engineering hat, you must sort of go, you know what? These are fantastic pieces of design. They're great. Surely there's something special about them. That's why they're so successful.
Yeah, well, I mean, the marketing. Obviously, I can see the appeal that is you buy your big car. People have always liked big cars. This is nothing new. People always like the biggest, glitziest car. They want like to proud of where they've got to. They want to impress other people. I mean, that's nothing new. That's been happening for thousands of years. Where I come from is that as an engineer, I look at things sort of quite practically. It's the curse of being an engineer. You understand everything. I can look at a lamppost and understand sort of why the lamppost looks like it is, or a door hinge or something. It's ridiculous. The stuff I look at and sort of wonder, why have they designed it like that?
Is it at that point when people wander away from you when you're down the pub?
Yes. I'm surprised you're still here yourself, actually.
Sorry, what time is it? Yeah.
Christ, it's that time already.
Yeah, so that's all for the show. Thanks. Goodbye.
Are you still talking to anybody? Yeah.
So let's look at the engineering factors behind it then. Let's take it apart. Why do you think it doesn't work?
So, laws of physics. First of all, when you're designing a racing car, everyone sort of focuses maybe on how powerful the engine is. You only need power from the engine to actually overcome the things that are slowing your car down in the first place. So an obvious one is the weight of the car, the mass of the car, as the engineers and physicists would be saying the term I should be using. So, the more massive a vehicle is, the more mass it has, the slower it is, the harder you have to work to get it to move along. So obviously, I like small cars. If it's smaller, it's inherently lighter. You don't have to try to make it lighter because you just made less of it. And the other big thing that slows a car down, why you need a big air engine, is aerodynamic drag. And the two things that dictate aerodynamic drag are the size, again, and the shape. And when you've got a larger vehicle, it's harder to make it a slippery shape. So you have that double whammy on aerodynamics with a larger vehicle like an SUV. It's not only is it you're having to shift more air out of the way to get through the air to make you to go along. You've got a shape which is inherently going to be less effective, less efficient at doing it. I mean, efficiency is not in Formula One, for example. Efficiency is not something would be very high on the list of priorities. But given, say Formula One, you have got a limited amount of fuel to do the racing, and so actually efficiency is key because the more efficient you are, the faster you can go. And so when I see vehicles which are just wrong, inefficient, it just whoa. It's not that it's all wrong. It's all wrong.
But what about surely they have their use though. I mean, school run. I mean, surely that's I mean, it's a jungle out there.
It is. Have you seen the curbs at Waitrose? Yeah. How on earth I do that in my estate car, I do not know.
But then are you going against the tide? Because they are ridiculously popular, as we've mentioned. Volvo just do SUVs. I mean,
I know.
This is the thing. It's kind of, I think you might be swimming against the current here, Terence.
I know. And obviously, I can see the appeal of them. People have always liked a bigger car to a smaller car. I'm possibly in the minority of liking smaller cars. People have always liked to impress, it's like back in the day, you've had the fastest horse in the village, even had a cart. So it's nothing new. But it's that engineering technically, it's just a very, very poor solution to the problem of, getting yourself around. To have a 2.5 ton vehicle, 2,500 kilogram vehicle to haul a 70 kilogram person around is just ridiculous.
So if your dictator Terence takes over and you get rid of all the SUVs have gone, they're all into the junkyard of history. What should we be driving? What's transportation are we supposed to be using?
I've been asked that before, and I said the bicycle.
So Holland is utopia.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, it's good. Well, it's flat. Yeah. And they do delicious food there as well. Dutch cuisine is fantastic, by the way. That should have gone into the
Genius.
into the genius one. Yeah, Dutch food. Boy, they do deep frying like you wouldn't believe. And it's fantastic. No, I wouldn't say ban SUVs, because it is a style thing. You know, what actually is wrong with it? Is there actually anything wrong with a car weighing 2.5 tons? You know, what is it all about? It's about efficiency, really. And everybody's sort of worried about global warming and, you know, the environment. So it's climate change nowadays, isn't it? It's not global warming. Climate change.
Unless you're Trump or somebody in that
In which
bill.
case,
It
it's
doesn't
just
exist.
fake news.
Yeah.
It's fake news. So, I wouldn't ban SUVs, but I would say all vehicles have to be able to do so much MPG. And that then sort of pushes the design of vehicles to be more efficient. And you leave that to the engineers, how that's achieved. I think always bad legislation is always legislation that sort of bans, you know, cars with wheels that are so big or cars that are so high or whatever. No. What are you actually trying to achieve? Actually, the size thing is a bit relevant. I live in a village and it's in a conservation area. So, I mean, I need planning permission if I want to sort of change my door handle virtually. But I am allowed to park a 2.5 ton lump of metal in front of the house where you can't see half the house. No planning permission needed for that. So it is a bit ridiculous. If I was dictator, I wouldn't say I'd ban the SUVs, but I would ban ugly cars.
To be fair, if you're living in the Cotswolds, surely you should have an SUV. Isn't that part of it?
Do you know what? I don't.
Have you ever had one?
No, I've never had one. No, I've been in one. But I've been in been in them that are over £100,000 cars, you know, and that even more mystifying why people would want them. Absolutely terrifying because they're so big. It's going down a little country lane or something, you know, the driver's really having to thread it very carefully because it barely fits, or driving around town, you know, it's just hard. It's just hard work. I've got a classic, from the 1960s, Fiat 500, very much at the other end of the automotive spectrum. Tiny little car. And it is a hilarious car to drive. I mean, you can take the racing line down the narrowest of little streets in a town or in the country lane. Just because it's narrow, you've got more road relative to play on. One of the things that's really struck me is how badly packaged some SUVs are. It's quite astounding. You know, you have this huge vehicle. You open up the boot, and the boot is very average, shall we say. I've seen people loading up. I remember seeing it was a BMW X5, I remember. And some poor woman was trying to put the pram in the back of an X5, and she was struggling. And I just thought, how can a car that big have such a small boot? And you almost think, am I on drugs? Am I missing something here? They just strike me as not being as well designed as they could be. But, you know, if someone was thinking pragmatically, what sort of car do I really need to take the kids to school, to go to Waitrose, other supermarkets are available. If you looked at it like from an engineer's perspective, like me, I'd just be saying, I'll get a Ford Focus or a bicycle.
Well, and put the pushchair on the back.
Yep. I've got one of my bicycles is a triplet tandem, so 3 of us on it, one short of a Goonies bike.
How does that work?
We're all in a long row.
What do you do when you go around corners? Obviously, you don't go around hairpins.
Take a wide turn.
What, do you have one of those like convoy exceptional stickers on the back?
Yes, indeed, yeah. I'll tell you the advantage of a triplet tandem is everybody notices you.
I bet they do. There's that bloke who hates SUVs.
Yes.
Says the bloke in the SUV crashing.
Oh, God, I won't be able to drive it around Oxford now, yeah. Okay.
Oxford hates cars anyway.
Yeah. Something else I've noticed about SUVs, occupants always look really miserable. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm looking up at them, from my car up at them, and it's just, you're looking up into the jowls. But they always look as miserable as sin.
but they're nice and, sort of comfortable while you're down low on the ground. Sure, they should be happy. Or does it show that money can't buy happiness?
It's the glare off my bald patch. Jesus Christ almighty. Through my sunroof. And just probably thinking, God, that filling up the petrol tank just cost me an absolute fortune. A full tank on my car, which does like 600, 700 miles, is like at the moment about £80, which I mean Americans will be sort of like thinking, how much?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'll be like 20 should be like 20 cents.
But there are cars that do like a third of the MPG of that. I just think, oh my God, I'd be pretty depressed if I was driving something that did that sort of MPG,
So basically the SUV, really, you're kind of, by chucking them on the junkyard of history, you're kind of doing everybody a favour, so everybody's going to be happier because they're all going to be on bikes. And
yes, and because there'll be less demand for petrol will be cheaper.
So a bit of a win-win.
I'll be happy.
Well, as long as you're happy. So
yeah.
There'll be lots of other people a bit unhappy. But well, thanks very much, Terence. There is some cracking Genius or Junks.
Thank you.
Pretty sure we'll see you on the series and future episodes, seeing as I know you've got a load more items you could chuck on that junkyard.
I'm now at an age where pretty much everything pisses me off. So, yeah.
So stay tuned for series 1, 2 and 3. But Terence, thanks so much. And, we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Cheers.
So, another 2 innovations are consigned to their fate. But do you agree? Genius or Junk is an Oski Films production, created by James Fowler and Jamie Loudon. Visit our website, www.oskifilms.co.uk, to find out how we can help you with all your video and podcasting needs.